So good morning everyone, and welcome back to this weekend's teaching on this text called Bodhisattva Charyavatara, or Engaging in the Deeds of a Bodhisattva, by the great Indian master Shantideva from the 8th century. In particular, we are looking at chapter 9, the perfection of wisdom. And I'd like to start with a meditation, but before we start the meditation, just a few words. So remember yesterday in the text, the very first verse said, "The Muni taught all these branches for the purpose of wisdom. Therefore, those who desire to pacify suffering should generate wisdom." So what we saw yesterday there was that in all Buddhist traditions, the three core practices are ethics, concentration, and wisdom. And we need this wisdom to overcome our distorted view of reality, because it's our distorted view of reality that is the root cause of our mental afflictions and suffering. And we saw there yesterday that from the various teachings that the Buddha gave, we have 4 philosophical systems evolving in ancient India: Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Chittamatra, and Madhyamika. Of course, this text is based on the Madhyamika philosophical system. But we saw there that in the Vaibhashika Sautrantika system, that the wisdom we need to generate is this wisdom of no self. And so we're going to do a meditation relating to that, but before we do that, just a few words on this word self. So the word self can be used in a number of different ways. So sometimes when we use the word self, it just means person. We just say self and others. So of course, when we use the word self just to mean me, person, then this, of course, exists. We exist. But here, in the wisdom practice, when you see the word self, normally it doesn't just mean person. The word self is referring to an overinflated false sense of me. And as I mentioned there briefly yesterday, we overinflate the sense of me in a number of levels. And one level is that we grasp onto a self, a me, that is unchanging, unitary, and independent. Unitary meaning a single thing. And this is something that actually a lot of traditions at the time of the Buddha believed in, because a lot of those traditions talked about something that went from life to life and achieved liberation. And a lot of these traditions were saying that that self was unchanging, a single thing, and completely independent. And we see that in your chart there, the tenet systems chart that we looked at yesterday. We saw there that it's initially broken up into Buddhist and non-Buddhist. And under the non-Buddhist, it says here, attempt to prove the existence of a referent object of a view of a permanent, unitary, independent self. So we see here a lot of non-Buddhist traditions at the time of the Buddha were saying the self actually existed that way. But of course, the Buddha refuted that view. But then yesterday, we saw that in the Vaibhashika Sautrantika, they say that there is a deeper level of grasping to self. There's another layer. So that's the first layer we strip away. But still, even if we strip that away, we're still grasping onto an autonomous self. That now there seems to be a me here that seems to be something a little bit more than just the body and the mind. Something extra on top of the body and mind. Again, we have that in our language. We say, I have a body, I have a mind. As if there's 3 things here, me, my body, and my mind. And this me sort of stands apart. It's the owner of the body and the mind. And that is this grasping to autonomous self. And so in the Vaibhashika Sautrantika system, when they say we need to realize the wisdom of no self, we need to realize this, that there's no autonomous self. And that's what we're going to do in the meditation now, is to look for this autonomous self that really seems to be here. But then also we said that in the Madhyamika philosophical system, there's another level we need to strip away. So we need to strip away this, of course. We strip away that, but then there's still a more subtle level of grasping to self that we need to strip away. And that is an inherently existent self, and a self that exists from its own side. There seems to be a me here existing from its own side. That is, we need to strip away, and that is the wisdom of emptiness, to realize there is no such self. So of course here, this is the Madhyamika philosophical system is referring to this, whereas the Vaibhashika Sautrantika is really referring to this in their wisdom practice. So before we go back to the text, let's have a look, let's do a meditation and look for this autonomous self. Is there a me here that is something more than the body and the mind? So let's do that practice.